News that impacts you and your community. 13 on Your Side News starts now.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to this One Good Thing special here on 13 on Your Side. I'm Juliet Dragos.
And I'm Matt Gard. For the next half hour, we're going to revisit some of our favorite One Good Thing stories from this past year.
They are deeply personal stories with a call to action. And we start with a home repair that was unusually meaningful.
Yeah, Juliet, that's right. As one West Michigan family looks through their window, they can see they're not forgotten. On a day with less than ideal conditions.
It's scorching hot today, so that's been extremely fun.
A crew from Michigan Screen and Window Repair had their work cut out for them.
When I first looked at the windows, we had single pane, old original wood windows throughout the home, covered in lead paint.
A 1923 Grand Rapids home with century-old windows was quite a project.
And we've been sweating, but it's totally worth it.
Worth it for an important cause.
This is our Windows for Widows campaign that we're super excited about. Basically where we just want to give back to someone in the community that's a military veteran widow.
In this case, that widow is Emmeline Twist, who met the love of her life in 2012.
James was in the military for almost 10 years between his time in active duty and the reserves. I think he felt that it was his life's purpose.
During his service, the Forest Hills Central grad was deployed to Afghanistan, where he helped save a fellow soldier who stepped on an IED.
They ran into uncleared territory and risked their own safety and lives to save him. And that's a story that I've talked to my kids about a lot, you know, without all the details that they don't need to hear. But Dad was so brave when he did that because he cared about his friend.
After his service ended, James was proud to be a Michigan State Trooper and a dad.
He loved his kids. He was very goofy with them.
Until he passed away unexpectedly in 2019.
My job, I feel like most of the time, since they were so little when he died, is to keep that alive and to kind of tell them about things that they're not going to remember because they were too little.
With new windows, it'll be a little easier for Emmeline to take care of her kids.
This is not only like just so incredibly kind and thoughtful, but it will make such a huge difference for us.
She says James would appreciate the gesture too.
He would be very grateful to know that people are taking care of us and to know that there's people rallying around us who care and that we haven't been forgotten.
Michigan Screen and Window Repair is already planning to do Windows for Widows again, and they're taking nominations. If you know a military widow who would be deserving, visit michiganscreen.com.
Whenever he walked into a room, he just brought so much light and joy.
Ethan Dutter touched so many lives, and his memory is still touching lives thanks to a Berry County farm that's a tribute to him. A peaceful place in the country.
We fell in love with it right away.
Is all Jay and Mandy Dutter ever wanted.
Yeah, we weren't looking for a farm. We were just looking for land.
But the winds of change blew them in a different direction.
That was 2 weeks before he passed.
Ethan Dutter, Jay's son and Mandy's stepson, died in a car crash just after graduating from Forest Hills Northern High School. It was a day that would change their lives forever.
It was really hard for a really long time. And he struggled for a really long time.
Mandy one day said that we needed some happiness around because it was just sad. And she's like, guess what? I found 2 pigs. Okay, where are we gonna put the pigs?
The Dutters found room for the pigs and eventually for more animals.
Hi, Kevin. So that's our peacock, Kevin.
Like a lot more animals. And they got to thinking about a higher purpose.
We gotta have some type of meaning for this farm. It can't just be a hobby farm.
After a lot of discussions, Mandy finally talked me into doing a rescue.
Some of the animals have been abused, and some came from owners who were just in over their heads.
The number of our pigs were indoor pigs that people thought that they were going to be mini pigs, which there's no such thing as a mini pig.
Over time, the farm became a tribute to a young man gone too soon.
Ethan brought so much joy to everybody's life that we wanted to give back in a way to the community and then to the animals.
Ethan had special needs, and helping people just like him is now part of this farm's mission.
And we'll have a special needs class, and it's for all different disabilities, autism, cognitive impairment, emotional impairment.
Even the name pays homage to the teenager once called Sunshine in Shoes.
As soon as we heard that, we're like, Sunshine Farm.
Now the Dutter's peaceful place in the country is more than they ever imagined.
Here you come. Here's Rex.
What do you think that Ethan would think?
Oh, he would love it. He would hate the work, but he would love watching the animals, playing with the animals.
Since that story ran, the farm has partnered with the Berry County Courthouse to offer volunteer opportunities for anyone who needs community service hours. A Grand Rapids organization is working to create a better future for people who have been incarcerated. They say for them, healing starts with hearing someone's story.
Welcome to What I Know Now, a podcast that uncovers the stories, experiences, and insights of individuals who have been impacted by the justice system.
Cole Williams and Joel Van Kyken are using the Delta Project and its podcasts to lift young people's voices.
When you create an opportunity where you are a listener and a safe space, people will tell you what they've been through.
The featured guests on the podcasts have been through a lot.
What we really want to do is highlight the lived experiences of young people and adults who have experienced the juvenile justice system and the criminal justice system, or any system where they felt like their voices haven't been heard, but they want to make impact and change.
After Cole's son was put into juvenile detention, he felt compelled to get more involved with helping young people change their futures.
I was surrounded by kids who were full of potential, but also I was surrounded by narratives and stories that also painted a really dark side of what was happening to kids in our juvenile justice system. And these narratives weren't true to the kids that I was working alongside.
Cole taught classes at juvenile detention where he met Bilal Al-Rayed, a young man who had never experienced the type of representation that Cole offered.
I ain't never been around no black men that had presented himself like how he did. I ain't never had no black teacher, you know what I'm saying? I ain't never had no black men articulate themselves how he did.
Bilal first entered the system when he was 13, and he spent much of his teenage years incarcerated, missing out on a lot of the experiences that most teenagers enjoy. When he started losing hope that he'd ever go home, he knew he had to try something different.
I started listening, I started praying more. Something clicked for me, something changed.
Bilal picked up a book of poetry and saw an opportunity to express himself.
I'm real introverted, so I won't really talk about nothing. And I found over the years, I never really talked about my feelings either. And especially while I was locked up, it was just easier for me to write my feelings down. It's a time where I could just, instead of speaking it, I can just write it down, put it down on paper, and it's like pouring something out.
You want to know me, the abandoned child. You want to know how I walk with my trauma so proudly.
Today, Bilal is a free man and a college student. When he reunited with Cole, he got a chance to tell his story through the Delta Project, and he's making sure younger people on a similar path know there's something better out there for them too.
When I go in there and I see them, and I see me, the style, how they carry themselves, how they talk. I just see me. I'm just trying to spark change.
Bilal wants to be for someone else what Cole has been for him.
For us, the hope is that any young person that enters into our space will have an opportunity to have a pathway through being able to tell their story.
After that story aired, Bilal received the Delta Project's At Potential Award. He'll also be the host for Season 2 of the What I Know Now podcast. Still to come, a young woman's ability to color is inspiring a lot of people, including a 13 on Your Side viewer who just had to get a hold of her adult foster care home when he saw her story. And when they saw their grandfather get hurt, they said enough is enough. Now 2 brothers are gaining nationwide attention for the device they invented to help him.
One Good Thing is sponsored by LaFontaine Lincoln Grand Rapids.
Welcome back to this One Good Thing special on 13 on Your Side. A West Michigan woman is inspiring others by seeing life in a different way. Her journey has taken many twists and turns, but the colors haven't changed.
The coloring just calms me. I remember thinking as a child I didn't have a lot of control over what was happening in my life, but I did have control over what color the cat was going to be in the coloring book.
Lindsay Shinover still loves to color as an adult, even though these days she cannot see what she's coloring.
And I only have light perception left in my left eye.
Lindsay was born 24 weeks premature with retinopathy. Her life has been full of surgeries to try and save her eyesight, but when she was 21 years old, she started losing her vision completely.
I never thought that I was going to be able to color again, and people were telling me you're never going to be able to color again. And it broke me, but I just got out my crayons one day and said, watch me.
She still remembers how to draw hearts and flowers, so she lets her hands do the work. It's not always perfect, but that's okay with Lindsay.
I don't really care what people think about my art or what I do wrong. It doesn't matter to them. I'm not here for them. I'm here for myself and to be the greatest version of myself. And I truly believe that God put me on this earth for a purpose.
Lindsay has dreams of becoming a public speaker and an author, and the team at her adult foster care home is committed to helping her reach those goals. They say that's what separates Enriched Living from similar organizations.
We like to go above and beyond for our residents, so not just giving the minimum care, we like to give the premium care, which is making sure that Lindsay has all the opportunities that she dreams of.
Executive Director Lori Labey says Enriched Living takes on some of the hardest cases and the people other organizations may not be willing to work with.
We wanted to step up and allow them second chances or opportunities that they would never be able to have. When you see them excited and you see them reaching their potential that we've been working towards, it's just an incredible feeling.
Lindsay is beyond grateful to call this place home.
This is the first group home I've truly ever felt safe in, so that truly means a lot.
We used that story to promote a golf outing Enriched Living was putting on with the hopes of raising enough money to buy a wheelchair-accessible van. And the Monday after it aired, we got a voicemail we had to follow up on. It came from this guy, Jack Yeck of North Muskegon. He took care of his wife, Julie, for many years after she had a stroke. And finally, he bought her a 2010 Ford wheelchair van to help her get around better.
Julie deserved to have that. She got one ride in it before she passed away. So I called back to the WZZM and said, you know, I need to get a hold of these people. I got something that I could really give them a heck of a deal on.
I immediately just felt this connection with him, that we were on the same page of need of why he purchased it and why we were needing that van.
To find out that somebody's going to use it and need it like Julie would have needed it, it just makes my heart feel great, you know, it really does.
The day after Jack's story aired, he walked his youngest daughter down the aisle on her wedding day. And 3 weeks after that, Jack passed away after a short illness. We reached out to his family and they tell us he was so excited to tell Julie's story on TV and to spread kindness to others. Jack Yeck, a Vietnam veteran, was 75 years old. We'll be right back.
One Good Thing is sponsored by LaFontaine Lincoln Grand Rapids.
Welcome back to this One Good Thing special on 13 on Your Side. They say necessity is the mother of invention, and two brothers, originally from Lowell, needed to stop seeing their grandfather get hurt. He was the inspiration behind a life-changing invention. Austin and Alex Pollock remember their grandfather, Judd Vanderwall, very well.
He always inspired us to invent things and create things. He taught us how to woodwork when we were little kids.
He may have played a hand in both of them going to Michigan State.
Grew up bleeding green and white, and he pushed that on us. He inspired us to get there.
And he also inspired them to solve a sizable problem.
Our grandfather was on supplemental oxygen. He had pulmonary fibrosis. The long oxygen tubing, 50 feet of it, was tangled up at the foot of his bed. He got up in the middle of the night to use the restroom when he tripped and fell. That fall sent him to the hospital.
The Pollock brothers didn't want that to happen again, so they got busy.
I mean, I remember staying up until 2 a.m. on a weeknight, 3D printing different prototypes for him to test the next day and find a solution.
It's taken years of trial and error.
We're on like our 30th version.
But a contraption called the Real Mate gives patients an easy way to wind up their tubing.
Like a reel and garden hose.
And it has a lot of people talking.
I posted a video of it on LinkedIn and it went viral.
Nearly 300,000 views in just the first week.
From there, we realized there was a market for it.
There's over 570,000 falls every year on supplemental oxygen, being the leading cause of injury for elderly patients.
What started as a way to help their grandfather became a business called Real Free.
We're partnering with Disher right now to help with design for manufacturing and launch at the end of this year. And we'll be selling through CareLink.
Unfortunately, Judd never got to see the whole thing come to fruition. He passed away in 2022, but his grandsons believe he'd be proud of what they've created in his honor.
He was super supportive and a very lively person, so I know he'd be very thrilled to see this product entering the market.
Just to underscore how common of a problem this is, when we posted this story on social media, we got dozens of comments from people who say they or their loved ones could really benefit from something like this. The Pollock brothers also held a Lung Legacy Run on August 10th at Millennium Park in Walker. They say they had a great turnout and raised a lot of money for the COPD Foundation. Take a second to imagine what you think might be going on at a high school basketball practice. Chances are, this is not what you were picturing. After the break, the life or death drill that was inspired by a teammate.
One Good Thing is sponsored by LaFontaine Lincoln Grand Rapids.
Welcome back to this One Good Thing special on 13 on Your Side. In sports, playoff games are often called do or die situations because either you win or your season is over. But one West Michigan team is now prepared for a literal do or die situation inspired by one of their teammates. It's an ordinary day of basketball practice at Unity Christian High School. The Crusaders are doing some conditioning, some shooting drills, and of course, CPR. Okay, so that last part is not actually a typical part of practice, but the team thought it was important to learn after what happened to junior Jake Chapman.
Jake and his brother were eating in our kitchen at the counter, and I heard this kind of gurgling, sucking air noise.
Chad called Jake's name in a tone that I have never heard before. It was so unusual.
And he didn't respond. That's when I knew that something was not right and something needed to be done.
Jake's father, Chad, started chest compressions.
I knew it was a matter of life and death. You know, it didn't matter if I hurt him or not because, you know, he couldn't be hurt anymore. He was basically lifeless.
Meanwhile, his mom, Rachel, called 911. First responders were there in about 3.5 minutes.
Just two young guys, new. I think one had been on 3 months and 9 months only on the force, and they were the ones that came in and saved Jake's life. They had the AED and they knew what to do.
Jake spent the next week in the hospital in a medically induced coma.
I said his name and I said, "It's Mom. If you can hear me, squeeze my hand." And when he squeezed my hand, it was like, okay, he's in there.
I guess it felt like a dream.
After waking up, Jake did months of physical, occupational, and speech therapy before returning to practice just 3 months after his heart stopped.
I try to push myself because I know I have to get back in shape to play, but it's been, every week I can feel a difference.
And all that hard work has paid off because Jake is finally back to playing in games.
After everything you've been through, what does it mean to be back on the court with those guys?
Yeah, it feels really good to be part of that. There's nothing I could ask for more. That was what I was dreaming of when everything happened, just to be out on that court again, return to doing what I love.
Jake has his life back because he was in the right place at the right time with the right person.
God saved my life, and he had a plan for me, and my dad jumped in and he also saved my life. So God has a plan for me, and he has a plan for everyone else.
Jake hopes part of the plan will be inspiring more people to learn CPR, starting with his teammates.
And the fact that they would stay late after practice and learn CPR because they know that life-saving ability is in their hands, literally, and they wanted to know. And it means everything to us.
When CPR is done the right way, it doubles or even triples someone's chances at surviving cardiac arrest. As for Jake, he's now a senior at Unity Christian High School. He's worked hard all summer and got cleared for both basketball and football. He'll be wearing a custom implanted defibrillator to keep him safe. Now remember, if you have a deeply personal story with a call to action, you can submit your story ideas by sending an email to onegoodthing@13onyourside.com.
Thank you for sharing such wonderful stories,
Absolutely.
Matt. And thank you for joining us for this One Good Thing special. The news continues at 13onyourside.com.